Today I'm going to be talking about something that I didn't really even understood existed until I started covering CHOP. And I noticed these storylines where people were being arrested and then all of a sudden they'd get bailed out by a community bail fund. And I was like, what is that? That's weird. So I started looking into it. And here in Seattle area, we've got this Northwest Community Bail Fund. And they just willy-nilly bail people out. Their theory is that, well, bail shouldn't be based upon whether you can pay or not. My thought is always, all right, so if you can't pay, then you probably shouldn't be doing what you're doing, hoping that somebody bails you out. But, you know, that's reasonable. So that's not how the system works. It's what we're going to be talking about today. Victims say Seattle-based charity bail group should stop freeing people charged with violent crimes. They bail out anybody, just willy-nilly. Yeah, okay, you're a mass murderer. Yeah, all right. Well, I mean, it shouldn't be based on whether you can pay or not. You're free to go. Make sure you come back to court. It's not that bad, but it feels that bad. I mean, to people who, some of the stuff we're going to read about, it's not good. It's not good. It's not reasonable. Let's put it that way. Let's jump on in here. Before we do, if you're new, welcome. My name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of real estate companies and I read the news for reasonable people. Okay. So there's a controversial push across the U.S. to bail people out of jail regardless of the charge against them. So this is not just a Seattle deal. This is across the United States. And during the, I want to call them race riots, whatever they were, summer of 2020, we had a lot of this going on. I think a lot of people became aware of this, but I don't think people realize how prevalent this is on a lot of the criminal activity that we have going on. Those guys and gals, it's so rare that you see, a woman arrested for a shooting, or it's almost always men, isn't it? I guess we're just more testosterone, more violent. I don't know. Ask Will Smith. Not really sure. Okay, let's go. That whole Will Smith thing. I'll talk about that later. I don't even want to acknowledge that happened. That is so ridiculous. There is a push across the country, including in Western Washington, to reform the cash bail system through nonprofit groups that post bail for those who can't afford it. These groups are drawing criticism from victim advocates and the crime victims they serve. I just find it really odd that there is a group out there who is like, all right, we know you're a criminal. You're innocent until proven guilty, but you had the knife in your hand and, it was bloody when it came out of the guy's back. So we're going to go with, there was probably a crime there. And yet there's a group that is willing to say, oh yeah, okay. You don't have any money? All right. Yeah. And you stab somebody? All right. Well, yeah. Okay. And just let them go. Just post their bail for them and hope that they show up at court. I wonder how many times these guys just go on the run, because you hear that so often. Yeah, this person is not, they don't show up for their court hearings. And I'm always kind of thinking, how do you not show up for a court hearing? And how are you on the streets? You know what I mean? When I was younger, if you had some kind of court appearance and you didn't show up, they would put out a warrant for your arrest and they would catch you pretty quickly. I guess now we're just so overwhelmed with crime and we just have a prosecution system that doesn't really do that and it allows all these criminals to just run around the streets. And then we wonder why, how we got here with these criminals. 75 convictions. It's okay. Yeah, we're just going to let you go and give you a little community service. It's just wild stuff, right? And we wonder why crime is continuing to elevate. And we don't wonder. We know. It's insane. There are approximately 100 charitable bail organizations in the country, including the Seattle-based Northwest Community Bail Fund. Through donations, the Northwest Community Bail Fund said that they can post bail for between 80 and 90 defendants per month, awaiting trial at the King, Snohomish, and Pierce County jails. All right. I think at times, and there is a tiny percentage of times where this probably makes sense. Somebody's up on charges, non-violent charges. Yeah, they don't have money, whatever. And there are times where this is, okay, you shouldn't be held in bail just because you don't have money. But the vast majority of these charges, there should be no bail, in my opinion. Keep them in jail. Keep them in jail. Just do your thing. Don't let them do a juicy Smollett, right? So the concern raised by victims is that the Northwest Community Bail Fund bails people out of jail regardless of the charges filed against them. That's the big concern, is that they don't really check what's going on in this person's criminal record, in this person's criminal history. This includes people charged with serious violent felony offenses as defined by state law. I'm all for social justice and for helping underprivileged people, but why would they allow someone to get out who has committed violent acts against other people? Well, because that's what they're doing. That's what these bail funds do. That's their thing. They don't care. They don't care that these people are being immediately re-released into the wild general public and committing the same crimes. We see it time and time and time again. So it's not really about, hey, we're trying to help you out because you're poor and we want to get you out of jail because, you might sit and rot in jail for who knows how long before, your court hearing or whatever it is that you got going on. It's not really like that. And I started to see the pattern with Northwest Community Bail Fund during the summer of 2020 when they bailed out people just willy-nilly. So the protesters, the mostly peaceful protesters that caused, $2 billion worth of damage across the U.S., they got bailed out left, right, and center from doing their stuff because that is what the Northwest Community Bail Fund, that's what they do. They take people that should be behind bars and, it's okay. Cut them loose. Get them out in the open. I'm all for social justice and for helping underprivileged people, but why would they allow someone to get out who has committed violent acts against other people and someone who has a long history of it? That's a lot of what we're seeing is we're seeing criminals out there, specifically here in Seattle, that have a long, long history. And our police department, Seattle Police Department, and the mayor and our Seattle City prosecutor, they're trying to put together some concerted efforts of getting these people off the streets. And they're targeting, I think it's 114 people, 128 people who've committed like 2,400 crimes. I mean, there's a small number of people is relative to the population of Seattle. Give a city like the size of Seattle, which has a population of, call it 750,000 people. Tiny percentage of those people commit a large percentage of crime. Put those people away for a while. Guess what might happen with your crime numbers? Yeah, interesting, right? Wood's ex-boyfriend has a criminal record that includes domestic violence assault and the violation of several protection orders. The Northwest Community Bail Fund bailed her ex-boyfriend out of jail in early March after an arrest for possession of a stolen vehicle and charges stemming from another violation of a protection order meant to keep Wood and her children safe. It's the whole point of a protection order, right? And you would think that the justice system would go, okay, yeah, you violated this. We're going to keep you in jail until we can get you in front of the judge. But again, that's not what we're doing. We're just letting people run willy-nilly. To say this has upset me is an understatement, said Wood. My ex-boyfriend has a long history of not showing up to court. This organization clearly didn't care about the victims in these cases. Having him in jail was the one thing that made me feel safe from him. So you got a guy running around willy-nilly that's not good to his family. I mean, criminal acts towards his family. And yet this bail fund is like, okay, yeah, all right. Well, you can't pay. Okay. Why don't we just help you out? Because it looks like, based on your actions that you should get a little pick-me-up, right? The truth is that bail creates two systems of criminal justice in Washington, one for people who can afford bail and one for people who can't, the website states. That's the Northwest Community Bail Fund. And they say their work is necessary because the current system fuels racial and economic inequalities. So the bail fund goes on to say, our work focuses on counteracting the structural issues of a system that is not founded on guilt or innocence, but on affluence and privilege. Well, what other kinds of things are going to incentivize somebody to go to show up at court? What else are you going to do to get him to come to court? Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of options out there, is there? Hey, do you triple promise? Do you pinky promise to come to court? No, you got to make some kind of financial incentive because that's what people listen to. So whether you have money or not, this is the system. So now we're trying to override this system. And in doing so, you're letting just a bunch of criminals roam the streets. And we're seeing it. We're literally seeing it on a daily basis. I'm getting to the point where I cringe when I turn on the TV in the morning, right? As I'm either eating breakfast or kind of getting something going, or, I'm doing something, maybe making food, making a smoothie, whatever it is I'm doing. I cringe to see what kind of some of the news highlights are going to be. Invariably, there's either a shooting or a stabbing or a carjacking, something fairly violent. And you know what how the storyline goes? This person is out on bail. This person is a 10-time felony offender, just got out of prison. It's just insane what we're allowing to just run around on the streets. If you've been following this podcast for a while, I did a podcast that I was gonna talk about. And it was where the nurse was coming up the stairs and the criminal was running up the stairs. He was running up the escalator alongside her. Then he threw her down the stairs and he threw her down the stairs again and tried to throw her down the third flight of stairs. And she held on. That video of mine got demonetized because it was so damn violent. And that guy, after committing that crime, he went and stabbed somebody. Like right after that. So you've got people that are literally, what are you doing here? And they either need to be in jail. Yep. Or they need to be in a mental institution. Maybe rehab, maybe all three. I don't know. But bailing these folks out, that's not about whether they have money or not. It's about keeping them in jail if they've committed a crime that deserves that. And that's kind of what we're talking about. According to the National Bail Fund Network, the practice of bailing pretrial defendants out of jail, regardless of the alleged crime, is common among charitable bail funds throughout the country. The groups make decisions on who they post bail for based on resources and need, not the type of charge. Okay, that seems ridiculous because it defeats the whole point of justice, right? All right, so you committed a horrific crime. However, you don't have any money? Okay. Do you have a job? No job? Oh, you're living in a tent down in Pioneer Square? Oh, okay. You got out of prison 3 weeks ago? Okay. You've got some other charges pending? Oh, okay. Well, anywho, let's bail you out because we need to get you back out there because you're doing strong work for the community here. And yeah, we appreciate your service. So there you go. Let's move along. We got other people to bail out here as well. So, I mean, that's literally what we're saying here, right? And not necessarily in those terms, but pretty darn close. And this kind of thing is just, yeah, let's talk about the Will Smith. I got to kind of get that out of my head. Are we condoning black on black violence there? It feels like it a little bit. I didn't see a lot of folks stating, hey, that's a hard no-go. I saw a lot of soft approach to that. Like, well, words are violence too. And it's like, and if you're not familiar with the Will Smith, and hey, if you're not familiar with this, good for you. That means you're not paying attention to some ridiculous storylines going on out there. Will Smith at the Academy Awards, he punched Chris Rock after Chris Rock. He walked from his chair in the audience, got up after Chris Rock made a joke about Will Smith's wife's hair or lack thereof of hair. She's got a condition where she's lost her hair and she's shaved her head. So Chris Rock said, he made a joke about her not having hair. It was kind of funny. It was G.I. Jane 2. Looking forward to seeing you in G.I. Jane 2. And that's the movie where Demi Moore was she was going through boot camp, whatever, in the military and shaved her head just to be all tough and mean. It was a good movie. I enjoyed G.I. Jane. It was fine. But so Will Smith, walks out of his chair in the stands and he slaps Chris Rock. And it's like, really? This is what we're doing. And we're all okay with that. And then, Will Smith gets a standing ovation for his award shortly thereafter. And you're left with kind of like, all right, so we seem to be okay with this type of violence. Well, the Academy's walked that back a little bit. They're going to be doing an investigation into, because they have to, because these are terrible optics. All right, we're just letting violence go. We got a black guy smacking another black guy. They're both famous. It's on national TV, national audience. Yeah. I mean, that to me is just stunning. I don't know what Will Smith is thinking, but it almost to me seemed like it was staged. When I saw that, I do not watch any award shows like that at all. Those are horrible. Those are truly horrible. Just a bunch of people patting themselves on the back for really poor movies. I mean, maybe there's a couple of good ones in there. I don't know. I rarely watch any new content that comes out from Hollywood now. It just seems like it's all just so bad, or it has these agendas. Like Disney is talking, well, we want at least half of our content to have LGBTQ characters in them. And you're like, all right, why? So yeah, the whole thing, I felt like Will Smith and his deal, it almost seemed like it was just a contrived, planned event because Chris Rock didn't back off and Will Smith slapped him. I mean, what are you doing slapping another? You don't slap another man. You know what I'm saying? You just don't. And if you're going to do that, go all in. If you're into violence and that's your thing, I'm not condoning violence, but I'm saying a slap? What are we even doing there? And the fact that Chris Rock didn't really back off at all, kind of made me think, well, he knows this is coming. He had kind of a nervous laugh. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. I don't really care, but what it does is it makes me realize, yeah, they're all okay with whatever they do. Doesn't matter what it is. Hitting each other. All right, it's okay. I mean, it's only a slap. Yeah. Tell that to your kid who slapped somebody in kindergarten at school. Well, Will Smith did it. Yeah, you're not Will Smith. You're not in Hollywood. Well, Will Smith did it. I mean, what a bad example. What a terrible example just for humankind. You're walking up on a stage and whoosh. I mean, that's caveman style, right? That's just caveman style. I don't know. Weird. The local nonprofit said in 2021, now we're back to the Northwest Community Bail Fund. Local profit said in 2021, they posted bail for 278 defendants with cases in King County Superior Court System, most of which are, get this, felony cases. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I mean, whatever. King County public records obtained by King 5 show that out of those defendants, approximately half of the people bailed out were charged with nonviolent offenses such as theft of a motor vehicle, unlawful possession of a firearm, identity theft, and failure to register as a sex offender. Okay, somebody steals your car. You're going to be pissed off. You can't get to work. You're trying to do the right thing. All right, somebody steals your car. These criminals know that they're not going to do much time. That's even if they get prosecuted. That's even if they get caught. And then if they do, odds are they don't have any money. They're going to get bailed out. So no wonder this stuff is ongoing and these numbers of, percentage of crimes are going up. So we got motor vehicle, unlawful possession of a firearm. Okay. That to me is a hard no-go. Throw that guy in jail and gal. Throw that guy in jail and have him do a few years. Because those are all these stories that we hear of crimes that are taking place. They're with stolen guns or somebody who shouldn't have one. Make it tough. Put him in jail for 5 years. Do something. But instead, we bail him out. It's okay. Go get yourself another firearm, even though you're a convicted felon and you shouldn't have one. I'm sure you're going to do good things with that firearm out in the wild there. Okay, we got identity theft. So what are you going to do when you steal somebody's identity? You're going to rob them, right? So that's not a good thing. Even though it's nonviolent, you shouldn't be allowing that to happen. It's okay. Just go back out there, do a little typey on your computer, see what magic you can work up on your next victim. And failure to register as a sex offender. That is alarming, right? All right. We know you didn't didn't do what you're supposed to do on the whole sex offender thing. But you don't have any money, so I guess we're just going to have to bail you out so that you can do what out there that you can't do inside a jail. But the other half bailed out. So those were the non-violent cases, right? But the other half bailed out were in jail and awaiting trial for alleged crimes involving violence, including domestic violence assault, armed robbery, vehicular homicide, arson. You set somebody's house on fire. You set a business on fire. You did a little peaceful protesting during the summer of 2020, and rape of a child in the first degree. That is literally some of the things that people have been bailed out of jail by the Northwest Community Bail Fund. Rape of a child in the first degree. That is simply not reasonable. So crime advocates said that they were surprised to learn the Northwest Community Bail Fund defendants out of jail, bails defendants out of jail without a review of their charges and criminal histories. Of course not. That's not their deal. They're just letting people go willy-nilly because it's based on need. Are you poor? Yes. All right. That whole criminal history thing? Yeah, we're not really dealing with that today. Are you poor? You have no resources? Okay. That's the whole deal here. And I get the fact that if you do not have any money, you're going to be stuck in jail. All right. But that's the system, and the system is set up for a reason. So if you don't have any money and you're committing a crime, you need to have in the back of your head that this is going to be a hard no-go for you. And instead, what's in the back of your head is, even though I don't have any money, I'm going to still probably get out. So how does that really help anybody? How does that help the victims of the people who've had these crimes done against them? How does it help the kid who got raped and then you let him out to maybe do it again? I don't think it really helps, right? People are shocked. They don't even know that such a fund existed. I wish victims could have more of a say when these decisions are being made, said Tiffany Attrill, victim advocate at the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. Victims often feel forgotten. They feel unheard. Their opinions, thoughts, feelings don't matter. This feels like another layer of just having no voice. So you've got a situation where these bail funds are literally just kind of not even behind the scenes, but if you follow the storylines and you watch towards the end of when a crime has happened and somebody's been arrested, oftentimes you will see they were bailed out and they were bailed out by, or it'll just say a community bail fund bailed them out. So that's what that is. And people can donate to these community bail funds, and they're set up all over the U.S. And literally, when we had all the mostly peaceful protests that, weren't peaceful at all, there were riots. During the riots, that's how these folks were able to get back out on the streets so quickly. Bail funds down in Portland, bail funds were just bailing them out willy-nilly. And it was just insane. People would, they'd be at the same riot, back out at the same riot, and get arrested again. There are multiple instances of that. And you'd read it in the newspaper, and I think most people just didn't really pay attention because it wasn't their store being, either arsoned or, whatever it is. It broken into, the windows broken, the doors, it wasn't their store. So they didn't have a personal commitment to what was going on, but they watched it and saw what happened. And I always kind of follow those storylines a little bit deeper so you have an idea of, okay, how did we get here? And so many of those folks, there was a small group of people doing all this stuff. And the way they were able to stay in circulation is they either didn't get prosecuted to begin with, police did their job, they did the arresting. And I just read a story. I was doing a little bit of research here on this topic before I started recording. And one of them was from the summer of 2020. The King County Prosecutor's Office basically just said, yeah, we're not going to prosecute any of the people that got arrested during the final days of CHOP. We're not, unless it was something super serious. It was basically just carte blanche. We're not prosecuting them. And so you're left with, okay, but they committed crimes, and because they were, protesting, we just give them a hall pass. That is literally what we're doing. So a lot of victims out there who are, I think this is coming to light, and I think people are understanding, okay, maybe some of these people shouldn't be bailed out. And with the rise in crime, will we see, I think you're starting to see a little bit of a pushback. We're seeing a little bit of a pushback on all kinds of things right now. Homeless encampments being swept. I mean, that's happening. Police trying to refund the police. I did see a story, a feel-good story on city of 𝐍𝐞𝐰𝐬, which is just to the south and east of where I am by, call it 10 miles. It's right at the foothills of the Cascade Mountains, before you go up to 𝐍𝐞𝐼𝐬 Pass, one of the mountain passes. So the city of 𝐍𝐞𝐰𝐬 has a real proactive, kind of group of 3 people, including the police chief, who've been actively going after police officers in positions within their system that they need. And I think they've hired like 16 people recently. They didn't get into the details because they're like, yeah, we don't really want to share all of the details that we're doing. But what it came down to is the police chief was making, hard sell. She's selling. ABC, always be closing. So she's selling and she's getting her positions filled. And so there are a few good stories out there of things kind of, coming back to where, not where they need to be, but a little bit more towards reasonable. And I think you're going to see more and more of that. And I think you're going to see more and more of that through the elections here because things have gotten so wildly off kilter. And I even think the Will Smith thing, they're going to look into that. And he's going to have to probably do some domestic violence, or he's going to have to do some damn thing. Not domestic violence because he doesn't live with Chris Rock, but whatever it is, there's going to be some kind of repercussions there because the optics on that are just terrible. Grown man, big, tall, grown man slapping another man on a international stage. Not good. But then again, maybe Hollywood just doesn't really give a crap. That's kind of how it feels to me. But even if they don't give a crap, I think they have to smooth out these optics just a smidge, just a touch. Kind of like Jen Psaki with the president. She's got to smooth out all kinds of stuff. President says something and she's like, that's not really what he meant. I know he said that, but here's what he meant. His intentions were over here. Got to do a little smoothing out. That slap, that was more of I just wanted Chris Rock to be awake. I wanted him to be present, and the joke about my wife. How ridiculous is that? All right. That's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for supporting News for Reasonable People. We'll catch up soon. Talk then. Bye for now.